Hi there, it's Hannah the Artisan Duck, and I'm back today with a slightly different tutorial. This is like a mini series on how to make seed bead bracelets. They're really easy, very beginner friendly, and they all use different techniques. Today I'm going to show you how to make this turquoise bracelet on the end using a bead weaving technique called right angle weave. We're on our third and final bracelet, so this is a bead weaving bracelet. It's a really simple pattern though, so if you've never done bead weaving before, you know, it's going to be easy. I'm using wildfire beading thread, but you know, whatever you've got. I've used a white because I'm using some quite light beads. So I've got size 11 seed beads here, and I'm using a high contrast so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And you're going to need some jump rings and a clasp for the end. And then you are obviously going to need a beading needle to go with that thread. So I've cut myself a really long length of thread. This is about 50 inches long. I'm going to go ahead and pick up 4 beads to start with, like that. We're going to take the beads down the thread, and we need to leave ourselves a tail thread. So that's a length of thread right at the end of our project, and we need to leave a reasonably good length, maybe 10 inches or so, because we're going to make a beaded loop with this, and obviously we need to knot the thread as well. So do leave yourself a good tail thread. Sort of hold your beads so you don't take it right to the end because you'll get very much unstuck. So I'm holding my beads, mostly that lower bead down there at the bottom, and we're going to take our needle back up through that bead and pull through. And when we pull through, it's going to cause all of those beads to sit. It's like a little cross shape like that. Now I'm just going to hold my tail thread so it's nice and tight, and I'm going to take my needle through the next 2 beads along because I want to keep on building going down this way. So I'm just going to go through that seed bead there, and I'm going to go through the bead right opposite my tail thread down there and pull through. And now we're ready to add another set of beads. So I like to think of these as a 4-petaled flower, and we now need to build another 4-petaled flower down there. We've already got 1 petal added because we're going to use the one on the previous flower. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up 3 beads, and I'm going to go in, so we're coming out of the bead this way with the thread, so I'm taking the needle sort of through the other side, so we're going to create that loop again. Pull through like that, and then we're going to go again. We need to continue down, so we're going to go through the outer petal there, and if the beading threatens to come loose, just pull the thread that you've just been working with. I'm going to take that through like so, and I'm going to go to the one on the end like so. And if your sort of beading is a little bit, you can see that that first one is not holding its shape. That's fine, we're going to deal with that at the end anyway. They do tend to sort of lose their shape. You need to sort of tighten that thread every so often, and sort of don't leave too much slack in it, but we are going to come back through and do some more beading, which will help make the beads sit better. So don't stress if it's looking a little bit funny at the minute. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up 3 more beads like that, and because we're exiting out the top here, we're going to go through the bottom. I'll move my beads out the way in a minute. My camera wants to focus down here and not what I'm doing. So we're coming out the top of that bead, and we're going to come in through the bottom again to create that beaded loop like that. And then we're just going to continue moving our way along. So I'm going to take the needle through that one at the side. And pull. And then I'm going to take my needle again through the one down here at the bottom and pull through. There we go. Like that. And you're basically going to go all the way down the length, doing that exact same stitch over and over again, making lots of these little sort of flower shapes. So I'll do one more, and then I shall let you do the rest of it and come back to you when it's done. So there's my petal. I've got 3 more here, and because I'm exiting out the bottom of this bead now, I'm going to go in through the top and pull through like that, and then I'm going to take my needle down the bead at the side and pull through, and then again the bead that's kind of on the end just there and pull, so that we're ready to move on. So I'm going to go away and I'm going to bead all of that length. Now we obviously need to add a clasp, and we're going to make a little beaded loop on each end to attach our jump rings to. So we're going to need to leave about 1.25 inches off your finished bracelet length for those to be added on. So once you've reached that length, I shall come back to you and we shall move on with the pink beads. There we go, there's the bracelet so far, and I'm now in a position that I can add a loop on the end so that I can add my jump ring to that when we finish the bracelet. So I've got 1 bead already added. I'm going to go ahead and pick up 5 more beads to form my loop. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and sort of like just like we did before, we're going to go back into this top bead, but sort of from the opposite side of where we're exiting, so we create a loop again. There we go, like that. I'm just going to take my needle back through those beads again. It helps to tighten it up and make it sit nicer, and also this is where we're going to attach the clasp. We don't want any weak points here, so I'm going to make sure I go through that last bead there, and then I'm going to go back through the seed bead at the top of the bracelet there and pull, and there we go, we've got our little loop to add our jump ring to. So now I'm going to go down into the seed bead at the side here and pull through, and we are now ready to move on to our pink beads. So you're simply going to go ahead and just pick up one of your pink beads, or whatever colour you're using, and go into the next bead that's sticking up. So it's the next sort of flower down, if that makes sense, but it's these 2 outer beads, and when you pull that, the pink bead will sit between them nicely, and this will help to give the bracelet structure overall. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up another one. There we go, and I'm just going to find the next bead down on the edge and take my needle straight through and pull. I'm just going to keep on going with that stitch. So I've picked up my 1 bead. I'm going to go into this turquoise bead on the side and pull through, and I'm going to continue now with this stitch all the way down until I've reached the bottom. So I shall come back to you when I've done that, and we'll be ready to move on to the next step. So I finished that now. You can just about see that lovely pale pink, and I'm exiting out just here this last turquoise bead on the row. So I'm just going to take my needle through my top bead here And you do have your tail thread at this end as well, so just keep that out of the way for a minute. And I'm going to go ahead and pick up 5 of my turquoise beads to form a loop at the other end. So there's my 5 beads, and I am just going to go back through. So we're coming out the bottom here and we're looping our way around and pull. There we go. And there's our loop. I'm going to take the needle back around that loop again, and then we're going to go all the way down the other side with the pink, just like we did before. I shall come back to you when you've done that and we're ready to tie our knots. There we go. So I've reached the other end, and you can see now that by adding those beads on either side, it's helped add real structure to that bead weaving that we did at the beginning with those turquoise beads. So to tie our knot, I'm just going to take my needle and thread through the top, because I've been working up this side, and I'm just going to start working down the other side to tie my knot. I don't have much thread left, so I'm just going to be careful, and don't over tighten. You want to make sure that this bracelet is sitting nice and flat, and if you pull one of these threads super tight, it'll start to sort of make it twist a little bit. So just run your hands down and make sure that those beads are sitting nice and straight, that one side isn't tighter than the other, and then you'll get a really nice crisp finish. So to tie my knot, I'm going to work my way down through these outer beads and just tie some knots all along the outer edge, and then hide the knots inside the bead. So to tie a knot, I'm going to push my needle under one of the threads that's going between those 2 beads there. I'm going to pull through and leave a little loop like that. I'm going to take my needle through the loop and pull and really tighten, and then I'm going to go into that turquoise bead, or the next one along, and when I pull, that knot will disappear inside that turquoise bead. And I'm going to continue down, so I'm going to go through this pink. Once I establish a pattern, I tend to stay in that pattern all the way down, so I'm going to tie a knot just before that turquoise bead like that to do a loop. I'm going to go through there and pull. If you wanted to, you could repeat that step and tie a double knot, but I'm just going to go through that turquoise bead and pull, and I'm going to do that all the way down until I literally can't anymore because I'm running out of the thread. And then I'm going to take my tail thread and I'm going to work up and do the other side. And once you've done that, you just need to really sort of, you put your beading flat on the surface, pull up the thread and snip, and any little remnants of thread will disappear into the beadwork, and that will be your bracelet virtually finished. So I'm going to go away, knot these threads, and I shall come back to you for adding the clasp. There's the bracelet, and I've tied off both of those ends and cut off any excess thread, and now we are ready to add the clasp. So it's really simple. It's just like we've done before. We're going to take jump rings and add them onto each end, and on one end it'll just be a jump ring, maybe a second and a third if you need to just alter the length a little bit. Other than that, the bracelet will be finished, and this end we're going to pop the clasp like that. And if it bothers you that the clasp is sitting sideways, you can, because obviously it's, if you have the flat loop like that, the clasp will sit sideways. You can add another jump ring on, and that will, I'll show you what I mean, that will correct the angle that the clasp sits at. So if I just close that one up, sometimes it doesn't bother me, other times it might if the bracelet doesn't sit right because of it. So you can open another jump ring. So I've just put that second jump ring on, and I'm going to add the clasp, and you'll be able to see now what I mean about it sitting better. So you can see now it's actually sitting in line, so when you go to do that up, you won't have to twist the bracelet. So there's the clasp end, and I'm just going to add a jump ring or two on to finish it. Okay, so just going to open that up. I'm going to pop another jump ring on, and I'm just going to pop a beaded loop on and close, and there's the finished bracelet like that. So there's the third bracelet finished, and as you can see, it really is quite an easy way to do a bead weaving bracelet, but to get a lovely finish. Thank you so much for watching today. I'll put links below for the other two bracelets in this little series, and if you have any suggestions for anything you'd like to see going forward, bracelets, earrings, necklaces, whatever, just let me know and I shall see what I can do. Thanks for watching. Bye.